Thank you very much, Minister Ažubalis, and thank you for your vigorous leadership of the Community of Democracies during the Lithuanian chairmanship. And I especially appreciate the President being here to welcome all of us and to be joined by so many distinguished representatives of governments, civil society, business, young people, and women. I think it's important that we use this session to take stock of where we are 10 years on after the Community of Democracies was begun. And it's a perfect place to do that here in Lithuania. Today, the streets outside this hall are peaceful, but 20 years ago, they were filled with Soviet tanks. And they rang out with the chants of protesters and the shouts of soldiers. The world held its breath. Thankfully, those tanks retreated and the Soviet Empire began to crumble. But the future was far from certain. The transitions to democracy in Central and Eastern Europe were fraught with challenges. In the former Yugoslavia, ethnic strife sparked years of war. In some former Soviet republics, including next door in Belarus, authoritarianism retained an iron grip. And in nearly every newly free nation, wrenching economic and social changes tested the resolve of people. But today, here in Lithuania and across most of Europe, democracy is thriving. Protesters who helped bring down communism went on to raise up strong democratic institutions and civil society. Leaders put the needs of their countries and their peoples ahead of their personal interests. So this region has become a model for the world, and its experiences, both the struggles and the successes, have taken on new relevance in recent days, because the world is once again holding its breath. This year, we have seen citizens across the Middle East and North Africa demand the same universal rights, dignity, and opportunity that Eastern and Central Europeans claimed 2 decades ago. Again, the future is uncertain. It is too soon to tell whether democratic institutions, pluralism, and the rule of law will emerge, or if those hopes will prove little more than a mirage in the desert. What we do know is the outcome will be determined by the people themselves. And this moment belongs to them, particularly the young people who have inspired the world with their courage. But I would argue that all of us here in this community of democracies have a stake in that outcome and a responsibility to help. We see our own stories in theirs. And we know that just as any one democracy depends on people working together, a community of democracy depends upon all nations, not only working together, but renewing our commitment. And we believe that established democracies have a special duty to help those that are emerging, because these new democracies are fighting for their life. There are vicious autocrats clinging to power. There are interest groups pretending to support democracy and only waiting until they can assume power. This is an hour of need, and every democracy should stand up and be counted. Unfortunately, there is no playbook that we can pass on to those struggling to form their own democracies with a clear outline of the steps that can be taken and the results that will be assured, like a recipe in the kitchen. Every transition in every country, in every era, is unique. Here in the Baltics, citizens could draw on centuries of democratic traditions. People in the Middle East and North Africa are in many ways navigating uncharted territory. But for all the differences, there are shared lessons, and we need to be sure we learn them and apply them, to take that hard-earned wisdom and put it to work. Because from Europe to Latin America to Africa to Asia, people have learned the fundamentals of successful democratic transitions. Accountable institutions rooted in the rule of law, equal protection and participation for all citizens, especially women, a vibrant civil society, a free press, an independent judiciary, and economic opportunity, integration into the international community and its norms and institutions, and leaders who understand that legitimacy flows from consent, not coercion. Today, I want to say a few words about these lessons and how they can help bring new members into the community of democracies. First, we have learned that sustainable democracies are built on the strength of institutions that guarantee the rule of law and universal rights, including freedoms of assembly, association, expression, and religion. Amid all the graffiti that covers the public spaces in Libya today, one message painted on a wall in the town of Derna stands out. It reads, "We want a country of institutions." That means, among other things, independent courts, a free press, competitive political parties, and responsive government agencies. And yet, in my conversations with so many who are so eager to help lead the way to democracy in their own countries, these concepts are very difficult to understand and to apply. But there are examples. In the 1990s, Estonia used cutting-edge technology to deliver unprecedented accountability and transparency. 20 years on, expenditures from the budget can be tracked online in real time. Government archives are paperless and open. Investors can register a business in a matter of minutes, the quickest in the world, and citizens can vote online. So today, Estonians are helping more than 25 countries around the world follow their example, including a number of projects in the Middle East, where in too many places bribery is rampant, institutions are corrupt, and political parties are repressed. The region's new democratic transitions can change that. I want to acknowledge Tunisia establishing an independent electoral commission made up of jurists and civil society leaders. And we hope that transitional authorities in Egypt will invite international observers to witness their upcoming elections. Because while democracy is about far more than voting, free and fair elections are essential. And they require a level playing field for political parties, a free press, and transparent voting procedures. That's the standard that all citizens have a right to expect, whether they are voting in Tunis, Cairo, or Moscow, for that matter. Now, a second lesson of successful transitions is that